because I wanted to make my own group, a group that I could invent new music with and play all my favorite styles of music. So we have 5 people here today, and we also have a bigger group of 14 people that's a lot more brass instruments and percussion. And then we play jazz, we play Latin music, we play classical music, we invent new styles of music. We have with us today David on trumpets, Jeff on trombone, Emmanuel on tuba, Becky on horn, and David on trumpets. So, I'd like you all to be thinking today about how you could make music, and you might want to ask Santa Claus for a brass instrument if it's not too late. I recommend tuba. We're going to play a song called Sleigh Ride. It's a very famous song. I know you've heard it before because we thought maybe it would encourage more snow. Usually we have a percussion section with us, but we don't today, so I'm going to need your help. If you have keys, you can shake them to sound like bells, and I'm going to get some of you to help me. Yeah, I'm going to pass this around. And then in this song, this is a sleigh riding through the snow. You have to crack a whip in a couple places to get the horse to keep moving. And so I'm going to ask all of you to help me be the whip. And you've got to be really careful because the whip doesn't happen on a downbeat, a really strong beat. It happens on beat 2, which is an upbeat. And just watch me carefully and we'll all do it together, okay? So if you have any keys or something that jingles, help me jingle bells. And let's hear Sleigh Ride by Leroy Anderson. You know, we got better at that whip cracking as we went. David plays the best horse winning I've ever heard on a trumpet. David, would you do it again? Because it kind of got obliterated with our bell ringing. Yeah, isn't that cool? So, now, I suggested that all of you make music somehow. Since you like music, you should make music. You can make music for your whole life. You could make music and you could play in a band or an orchestra or sing in a choir, and you can do it through middle school, through high school, and you can do it after school. You can do it for the rest of your life because we have so many community bands and orchestras. Or you could do it as a career. All of us love making music so much that we just decided we would be musicians for our career. I just couldn't put down my tuba. Yes, the coolest instrument of all, I play tuba. And when I left high school, I just thought, I can't live without my tuba. David played in the U.S. Army Band in Washington, D.C. Tim played in the U.S. Air Force Band in Colorado Springs. And all of us play, Emmanuel played in the Air Force Band on tuba. And Jeff plays all over town on the trombone. He's playing the Nutcracker right now. If you go downtown and hear the Nutcracker, you'll hear Jeff in the orchestra. So he's doing hundreds of shows. So you can pick any instrument you want. Most of us can play any instrument at all. You know, just wide open choice. But there's something unusual about brass instruments that I wanted to tell you about today, because not everybody can play every brass instrument because it depends on how your lips buzz. So in order to make a sound on a brass instrument, we kind of do like what you did when you were a little kid and you would drive a truck and you'd go like that. Except that we refine it and we bring our lips a little closer together and get a more refined buzz. But when I buzz my lips, they don't buzz really at a high pitch, so I can't play the trumpet very well. I started on trumpet. And then I discovered that there was a cooler instrument anyway. So I just want to show you the different ways that we buzz our lips. So I'd like to have us hear a buzz of a high trumpet player. That's really high, really high. How about a French horn typical buzz? Oh, she can buzz high too. Actually, all of us can buzz kind of high and kind of low, and we have a different buzz for every note on our horn, so that our buzz has to match the pitch that comes out of our horn. How about a tuba buzz? Now this is the coolest, I told you. Oh, Emmanuel! Emmanuel, get over here. Did I tell you that Columbia is our favorite school in the entire Denver metropolitan region? Because we had one of our younger quintets come earlier this fall and play for the band, and they just loved the experience. And then lots of students from your school and teachers come to our big Denver Brass concerts. In fact, we're going to be inviting all of you to our February show at the Newman Center. It's all Latin music, and we'll have some Latin dancers too. So you'll hear about that a little bit later. Let's see, a trombone buzz. Typical trombone buzz. Cool. All right, David, I don't want you to feel left out. How high can you buzz? Okay. Anyway, I just want you to know that. So, when you choose an instrument, you should just pick an instrument that you've heard and you love, and then you talk to Miss Spy, right? Shy. Okay. Talk to Miss Shy about what instruments she thinks you might be good at, and then have fun with it. I'd like to hear from David. You know, it's pretty easy to learn to read music, but I'm always wondering, sometimes I hear you go off and do really strange things. Is that written on your page of music?
Sometimes, no. Most of the stuff I play in here is written down, but every once in a while there's something where if I have a solo, then I can kind of go off and do what I want to. I can look at the notes on the page and kind of use that as a guide, but I can also look at the chords, which is the notes that the band is playing, and then I can play a brand new melody that's based on that. So, for example, who's ever heard of the blues scale? Blues or blues scale? Okay, let me play it to kind of give you an idea. You probably know it.
That sort of sounds like the piano scales I learned to play, except cooler. You must have like flat.
Oh yeah, that's the trumpet. So the blues scale, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make up my own little melody using those notes and maybe play in a couple of different octaves as well. So in improvisation, I'm kind of making up my own new melody based on those notes of the scale, and I'm going to do something that I don't know. Let's see what comes out. Other notes in there, passing notes and other things that I was using just to kind of do some filler. But it's basically like when you make up a melody or when somebody else makes up a melody, they make it up from scratch, right? They make up something that maybe hasn't been done before, and that's what jazz is. You can create new music every time you play because it'll be a little bit different the next time, and then you learn a little bit more and you can create even more music. So you start to learn to play by ear, you start to learn new notes, new styles, it's kind of like learning a brand new language, and you learn that by, listening to it. That's how you learn how to speak. So that's how I do it on jazz.
Well, I've sort of noticed in our Denver Brass concerts, it depends on how you're feeling that day, too. If you're feeling a little tired, you might have sort of a sad or tired sound. And then on days when you're very energetic, holy cow, we never know what's going to come out of your horn. So it depends on your mood.
Yeah. And I'm in a good mood today. So there should be some energetic stuff coming out.
So, what are we going to do next, Tim? What do you want to demonstrate improvisation on?
Okay, we've got our next song that we're going to play here, and it's one that I know you're going to recognize. It's kind of a silly group of movies that came out years ago with Peter Sellers, and if you've never seen them, it's worth looking at. Who's ever heard of The Pink Panther? One of the more recognizable of movie music, of TV shows and movies, right? So we're going to play that song, and there's a little bit of a jazz solo in the middle that I'm going to go ahead and play, and I have no idea what I'm going to play yet, so I'll find out when I get there, and so will you.
And I think Emmanuel usually gets carried away and does a little improvisation too on the tuba. You can improvise on any instrument at all. So this is about a detective, Detective Clouseau, right? And he's searching for a lost diamond. And the diamond's name is Pink Panther, right? It confused me forever. I thought there really was a cat named Pink Panther, but it's a diamond, even cooler. Okay, let's hear the Pink Panther. Oh, you're good at that. I told you Denver Brass players never got out of middle school mentally, because all we want to do is have fun, which is why we love being at middle schools more than anything, especially Columbia. It's the best, honestly. I can't believe this school. You guys are so much fun. I've never had so much fun at a middle school before. David, would you tell us about the trumpets and maybe why you chose trumpet? Because I'm hoping all these people here are thinking about an instrument they'd like to play, and then Miss Scheid, maybe everybody in the entire school will be in the band or the orchestra, and she'll need a much bigger room, right? And I bet she's even got tubas just sitting around dying for someone to choose to play it. But David, we'll hear about the trumpet now.
All right, trumpet. We're at the top of the brass family, so we get to, number one, we get to play lots of the cool melody lines. We get a lot of the main lines of things. And the trumpet started out really as an early instrument. It was, back in old Roman times and before, it was used as a signal device on the battlefield, or to call the legions to arm and tell them where to go. And so it's over the years, it had a lot to do with kind of in the militaristic type of uses. But then in the classical times, it crept into the orchestra. But it was kind of interesting. Out on the battlefield, we were a big signaling device, and so it was very important to be loud. And when it first appeared in the orchestra, it also tended to be at the climax, at the really high points of the piece, when it really needed to be really loud and boisterous. Then the trumpet would be used in those points. And that's kind of carried on. Even today, a lot of the music, really the high point has the trumpet there. So we get to play really some of the cool stuff. It also has stayed as an important instrument in the military. How many folks are in the military? Families, or there you go, yeah, great. And how many people maybe are thinking about someday being in the military? Yeah, well, guess what? You'll get to hear the trumpet almost every morning. Right, they still play those bugle on every army post every morning. So it still has a lot to do with that. Let's go on and hear, should we do a seasonal tune? Yeah. This piece, how many are, all right, so we had everybody who's a musician, everybody who's not a musician right now, raise your hand. All right, so this story is kind of cool. In 1957, two non-musicians sat down and said, you know, we need a new Christmas song. I think we can do this. Maybe had a little bit of piano background, but they were not professional musicians. They sat down, they wrote this tune, Jingle Bell Rock, and it became one of the most popular tunes of the year, and continues to be played to this day.
Yeah, this is cool because you can dance to this song, but we're all sitting down, so yeah, you can feel it. I can tell. I can see the dancers in the crowd right now that they're feeling it. Okay, Jingle Bell Rock. I bet those teachers over there know how to dance. Well, I'd love to hear about the trombone. Jeff, why don't you come on out front with the trombone? I love the trombone because it's got this kind of mid to low sound. It's just really mellow. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what's special about the trombone and why everybody here probably wants to ask Santa Claus for a trombone for Christmas? Well, or a tuba, right?
The trombone is the first chromatic brass instrument. Now what that means is, Tim,
Yes.
if that is your name, as the instruments get longer, Tim needs to push down a valve. Right now he can only do a bugle call. But so in order to change that, we may need to make it a little bit lower. So he pushes down the second valve. And then the first valve makes it a little longer. First and second, third, et cetera, right? The trombone, we've been able to do this for centuries now.
Yeah, he thinks he's really cool because he can do this.
But also, I get to do this.
It's a really cool effect, and depending upon what mood Jeff is in, you never know when he's going to throw that in a song.
That's correct. I might throw that in anytime. So early trombones had an interesting name. In France, they're called sacabouche. It's to draw out from the lip. That's what that means. Draw out. Okay. And when that word got to England, they turned it into sackbut. Sackbut. I said butt. But it's that's what this was used to be called. Right? And with all the modern additions, the old sackbuts, they didn't play very well in tune, so they had to make a lot of modern changes to it. This bell became much more flared. The slide became, this is probably something you may not see on your instrument right now. This is called an F attachment. Allows me to cheat a little bit.
It allows him to go down even lower. You just want to go lower because you really wish you had a tuba.
Sometimes.
Okay, let's hear from Emmanuel about the tuba. Come on out here, Emmanuel. Yeah, I know you've got a rule about no hats in the school, but we got special permission because Emmanuel dresses like this every day of the year.
So I think she just said I'm Santa Claus every day of the year. All right, so who here likes to listen to music? Okay, so we asked this question already. All right, who likes to listen to music without bass? Oh, yeah, a couple hands just went, oh, that bass,
No, it's all about the bass. It's all about the bass.
So with the tuba, tuba in the brass family, obviously the lowest. So if the trumpets are the top of the food chain, I guess I'm the bottom of the food chain. At the same time, the food chain does not exist without the tuba. So, tuba, okay, so what do you think when you play the tuba? What do you normally think of? What? Big, right? What else? What? It's a lot. A lot of what?
It's a lot of brass.
Is this heavy?
It is a lot of money. It's very expensive.
All right, so you think about it, you think about it's heavy, you think about this, you think about that. Anybody think about a marching band? No marching down. But here's the deal. Tuba can do a whole lot more than just that. Pretty much anything that they can do, I can do better. I can't do that though. But in all seriousness, when we're thinking about the tuba, we always think about marching bands and oompas and everything else. There's a whole slew of stuff that has nothing to do with that. Now, my main job is as the bass of the group. That's my job. However, when I'm not with the group, let's see here. I get to do all kinds of other stuff. So it's not just oompas and being the foundation. Every now and then, when I'm with these guys, that's what I have to do. When I'm by myself, like what Kathy was talking about, when I'm a loner and I don't feel like being bothered by anybody, that's what I play. Or I could play some jazz, or I could walk some bass line. I can get all kinds of stupid and nasty with myself. But that type of stuff allows me to sit back with these guys and do what I like to do. Every now and then, I don't get melodies too often. Sometimes I do. And when I do it better than they do.
I just heard Tim pretending he was a tuba. That's really lame. I'm sorry. You can't be a tuba.
No.
Okay, let's hear about the French horn. Becky, come on out here. Oh yeah, let's hear it for Becky. All those girls up there want to play the French horn, it looks like. Okay.
That's because they know that the French horn is really the coolest instrument. So the French horn started, so David kind of alluded to this. Most brass instruments weren't originally designed to be, in a concert hall, in the symphony. They were working instruments, something you would use outside. So in order to communicate, back in the days before you had walkie-talkies or cell phones and you had to get a hold of somebody across a field, you would use a brass instrument. The French horn started as a hunting horn. So when you're out on your horse with your dogs looking for that fox, you'd be able to communicate back and forth with the other people in your hunting party. And the French horn was actually one of the first brass instruments that the composers decided sounded beautiful enough to bring inside. And so we were one of the first ones brought into the symphony. Sorry, guys. The other cool thing about the French horn, it has a really incredibly large range. So these trumpets are all talking about how high they can play. You can be a high horn player too. And these low guys talking about how low they can play. On the French horn, you can play just as low as them too. So it's got about a 3.5, 4 octave range. So anything you want to do, you can do on this great little instrument here. So,
well, could you play some high notes for us on the horn?
Well, I can't go high, but
Well, high. That's pretty high. Well, how low can you go?
I don't have it today.
Well, she's got to loosen her lips up. You'll notice if you turn around backwards, Becky has her hand in the bell, and she can actually adjust the pitch of the instrument with her hand.
You can stop it too.
So, and she can plug it up and make it sound like it's got a mute in it or something. Really cool instrument. Kind of tricky. Do we have any French horn players in the audience? Do we? No, she's kidding. You want a French horn for Christmas, right? Okay. French horn? Cool. Okay, that's great. Well, we had a few schools send in some requests, and I think some kids from your school actually did too, and we've got 26 more songs that we wanted to play for you today. Do we have time? Can we play 26 songs in like 4 minutes flat? What do you think? Okay. The challenge is on. If you recognize the name of the song, tell me what it is. Here we go. You got 4 minutes to do this, you guys. Oh, our favorite song, right?
That's all,
Thank you so much. Honest to gosh, I hope you all get all A's on your report cards for attendance at assemblies. Thank you for being a fantastic audience. Have a wonderful holiday break.